What's up, guys? Welcome. Today, I'm going to be walking you through our 90-day military fitness program. I'm going to be giving this program away completely for free, and the link to download it is in the description. But before you click it and run off and go get after the program, I highly recommend that you watch this video, because if you've seen me before, you've likely heard me say that there is no one size fits all solution, right? This is a framework, and every PDF program, every program that you come across on the internet, I want you to treat it as if it is a framework, and ultimately it is up to you to objectively assess your weaknesses and make changes and alterations to overcome them, right? Everyone starts at a different place. Some guys are naturally fast runners, some guys are naturally strong, and if they want to get to that desired end state of, a balanced performance in all aspects of strength, speed, endurance, and mobility, then the plan needs to look a little bit different for everybody. So treat this as a framework. But like I said, you can download it in the description after the call. With that, let's get into it. So this is the front page. This is me during my time in Special Forces. There's a table of contents here. You can click through and jump straight to the program start once you get it downloaded. And real quick, if you don't know me, my name is John Hamilton. I spent 10 years in Special Operations. I started in the 160th SOAR and then ended up becoming a Green Beret. The important aspect of this is not necessarily my background, but the physical fitness I was able to achieve, right? I was able to run a sub 32 5 mile. I was able to consistently run sub 12:30 2 miles, and then max the other variables of the PT test. And I share this program with you because I remember being the young, motivated soldier who was rucking multiple times a week. I was doing 2, sometimes 3 workouts a day. And very quickly, I started to introduce those nagging injuries, right? And as I matured in regards to my training, I learned a lot about the long-term approach and the long-term outlook we need to take in regards to this, and prioritize things like mobility, things like recovery, obviously nutrition, which we'll touch on in this program, to get the best long-term performance, which is ultimately going to enable us to get to that next level of performance, right? All right, so what to expect within this program? Well, our goal is always to run a sub 13 minute 2 mile, right? Sub 35 minute 5 mile. And this is going to be highly dependent on where you're currently at, right? This is a 90-day program, and it does have 2 phases to it. We can cycle on and off the program. But if you're, upper ranges, 15 plus 2 mile, you can expect to shave 2 to 3 minutes off your run time. And if you're in the middle ranges, you're already in that 13, 15 minute, you can expect to break through that sub 13 2 mile mark, right? And if you're already below the 13 minute time, then you can expect to shave off another 30 to 45 seconds, but it's likely that you're already implementing a program similar to this, right? So this is an ongoing process. And while you may not quite get to the 13-minute mark if you're currently in the upper teens during this first cycle, this training methodology will absolutely get you there, given the right time, consistency, and nutrition, right? I often talk about success is nothing more than mastering a simple equation. That equation is the consistency of actions taken times time equals exponential growth. So everything I want you to start thinking about is that long-term horizon, right? Yes, this is a 90-day program, but I want you to think of it as a framework that you can continue applying past these initial 90 days. All right. Next is going to be the ruck time. So if you don't know, the Army standard is 15 minutes per mile. And the way in which this is most regularly tested is the 12-mile ruck, which must be completed in 3 hours. Some regular Army units do it in 4, but we're shooting for sub 3. All right. So I can confidently say that you will reach that 15-minute per mile mark by the end of this programming. Granted, you do the work, right? Nobody can do the work for you. And we will do it in a manner that sets you up for long-term success and minimizes the potential for injury. Like I said in the beginning, I was that young soldier. I was running with a ruck every chance I got, multiple times a week, and doing crazy mileage with crazy weight. And I started developing a lot of Achilles tendonitis and things like that. So we are going to be training in aspects to potentially avoid that. We don't want to ramp up so fast that we start introducing those injuries. For those already below the 15-minute per mile mark, you can expect your gated rucks to be 12:30 to 13 minute per mile or less by the end of this program. Strength-wise, you can expect to see tremendous gains in your strength throughout this process, while newer lifters will see, bigger improvements. You can expect to add at least 5 pounds to your main lifts, squat, deadlift, bench, overhead press, week over week. Now, I do want to talk about this a little bit because Some individuals like to train just body weight, and that is completely okay. The amount of Green Berets that I know who have only trained body weight prior to going to selection is substantial. So don't think that you can't be successful without training body weight. But in regards to training the bigger muscle groups, like your glutes, like your quads, like your calves even, it is easier to do it with these compound movements and getting a much bigger progressive overload. If you're doing just body weight, if you're using just bands, it is hard to stimulate it in a way that requires the adaptations to be made by your body. And I'm simply talking about the amount of resistance that you can put on it, right? So because squat, deadlift, bench and overhead press, you can get around with body weight movements, but especially in regards to the lower body movements, the weighted compound movements is typically the way to go, right? All right. So the methodology. So in our program, we prioritize strength training 3 days a week. And with the right intensity applied, this is all you need to witness tremendous results. And intensity, I don't mean that you're getting your heart rate up and things like that. It's the amount of frequency, so the amount of reps plus the amount of weight you're using. So we will start the program with lower rep ranges, 5x5, and the intensity. I want you to stop thinking about intensity in regards to just getting your heart rate up like a CrossFit workout, and think about intensity of rate of perceived exertion, right? So if you can use a lot of or heavy weight that it is difficult to get the prescribed rep range, then you are adhering to that high level of intensity, okay? During the first 6 weeks of this program, we focus on lower rep ranges. Like I said, this intentional choice is designed to boost overall strength and establish an unshakable foundation before delving into muscular endurance focused workouts, right? And this is the first aspect of prioritizing your specific weaknesses. If you are someone that is coming from a strength background and your compound movements, your squat, deadlift, bench press, overhead press are already substantial, then this might not be for you. The 5x5 structure, I mean. You might benefit from doing muscular endurance throughout the entirety of this program, right? If you have you're in the upper teens of your run time, then it might be beneficial to prioritize your run time a little bit while doing rep ranges of 4x8, 3x12, things like that. So don't think that because the first phase of this is 5x5 that you have to adhere to the 5x5. If you are somebody that comes from a strength background, then feel free to increase the weights so that when we do run, we don't have that facial tension, right? Because we're building the strength so much that it becomes difficult and our legs start to feel heavy, right? I'm sure if you've lifted in the past and you've ran, you've likely felt that heavy leg syndrome. Your legs feel very heavy, and oftentimes it is caused by what is called facial tension, which is the fascia, which is the connective tissue and the tissue that wraps the muscle, gets very tight when we start to build muscle, and it restricts blood flow. It restricts a lot of things. So a way to get past that is more mobility, more rolling out, which we'll touch on. But simply put, you don't have to adhere to this 5x5 schedule. You can increase the reps and go to a more muscular endurance aspect. All right. While we absolutely encourage you to challenge yourself with the weights, it is paramount that you prioritize proper form and technique before considering an increase in weight, right? No ego lifting, okay? The biggest pitfall I see in the world of fitness is individuals rushing their progress and introducing easily avoidable injuries, which can derail their fitness journey. Don't let that be you, okay? Instead, approach these strength workouts with their intended purpose in mind, to enhance your ability to perform in physically challenging, austere, and even hostile environments. Remember, strength training is not the main event. It is a powerful tool we employ to ensure we are as physically capable as possible when the main event arrives. You've likely heard me say this. I harp on it all the time, but the gym is not the main event. If you are training for the military, if you're training to be a soldier, or if you're just training to be a more well-rounded individual, it is likely that we're training for something outside of the gym, right? So treat the gym with its intended purpose, which is to enhance our ability to move under weight, to enhance our ability to perform in the arena, right? All right. Apply this principle with the utmost dedication as if your life depends on it, right? A little dramatic, but if for those joining special forces, for those joining special operations or the military in general, this thought may one day become a reality. So above all, remember to train with a purpose and let your dedication and commitment shine through in every rep, set, and workout, right? The The underlying theme of this is consistency. The thing that most programs have in common is they work if you decide to work. So keep that in mind. All right, speed. For the speed sessions, we will have one dedicated speed session per week. Feel free, if you are prioritizing your run time, to increase that frequency. But we focus on enhancing your running speed and efficiency through high intensity interval training, a specifically proven, scientifically proven method that significantly improves both aerobic and anaerobic fitness. This approach not only helps in shorter sprints, but also builds endurance for longer distances. So this is what I want to get to is these we'll start off with shorter intervals of quarter, half, and then progress up to 1 mile repeats, which will have the biggest impact on the improvement of your run time. And if your goal is to specifically improve your run time, then these speed days absolutely need to be prioritized, right? This is where you will see the biggest increase in your speed. Yes, we're going to have endurance runs. Yes, we're going to have tempo runs. But in regards to shaving time off your 2 mile time, in regards to shaving time off your 5 mile time, these are where you make your money, okay? Our program is designed with a gradual progression in mind. We start with shorter intervals and build up speed. This is kind of going in redundant, and I'm not going to read it word for word, but the big takeaway here is push yourself on the speed days, okay? And I want you to, once we get to the more endurance aspect, we're going to have the specific, mileage programmed within this 90-day program, but I want you to start with where you're currently at, right? One of the biggest problems we see, the reason we pulled this off of our website is because we got a lot of individuals who were newer to running and things like that, and they dove into this high volume program that is designed for, the intermediate to advanced level performers, and they followed that specific progression. I want you to follow a progression that you are currently comfortable with, right? So if you can only run 1 mile, okay, start at run 1 mile and increase that weekly mileage by about 10% week over week, okay? Until you get up to the point where you can adhere to this specific program, and then you can go back through it. This is yours to keep forever. All right. Endurance. The endurance component of our program is designed to significantly enhance your long distance running ability, a fundamental aspect of military fitness, right? So when it comes to being a soldier, it really comes down to being able to move your body with heavy weight, low and slow over a long period of time. So yes, we have the speed portions, which will get your 2 and 5 mile run time down. But in regards to performing in combat scenarios, in regards to performing in a selection, things like that, typically the PT test is a way to get your foot in the door. And then the duration of the selection or whatever it may be is moving with heavy weight for long, slow periods of time, right? For a long time. So these long, slow days, right? So we employ a combination of steady state runs and long, slow days. And these runs are paced to be challenging yet sustainable. So focusing on increasing your body's efficiency and utilizing energy over extended periods. And this approach is crucial in building a strong aerobic base, which is the foundation of good endurance, right? So simply put, an aerobic base is getting your body conditioned to moving over a long period of time, right? We will progress up to 1 hour long slow runs. I don't do the mileage aspect of it because it's meant to be at your specific pace, and not necessarily zone 2, but a conversational pace, right? But it's meant to increase your ability to perform in that hour. So likely if you are newer to running, you might be able to only get 20, 30, 40 minutes without stopping. But by the end of this program, you can expect to be hitting those 1 hour long, slow runs. Okay. Next is rest and recovery. That's obvious. Are vital in endurance training as they are in speed work. We emphasize the importance of giving your body time to recover and adapt to the increased demands of endurance running. This includes not only rest days, but also lighter training days where the intensity and duration of running is reduced. We do have one deload week about halfway through this program, but monitor your specific needs, right? If you start developing shin splints, if you start developing other issues, then you should absolutely take the necessary breaks or take the necessary time for your body to recover before moving into the increase in demands. All right. In addition to long runs, our program includes cross-training activities such as cycling, swimming, There's not a lot of swimming, rowing. These activities complement your running, but you can typically do any of these, right? We don't necessarily assign swimming and rowing and things like that very often, but we assign like a active recovery or light, not low impact cardio, right? And that's when you can implement these. All right. Lastly, we encourage setting personal goals and tracking your progress. When in regards to tracking your progress, on day one of this program is going to be a 2-mile timed run. Most people training for the military need to improve their run times, so that's where we're going to start. And I highly recommend tracking your progress on the specific modality that you are training about every 6 to 8 weeks, right? That gives the program enough time to work, and but it's not so long that if there is a deficiency or if there is something you need to tweak for your specific needs, that you go continue without making that simple adjustment, right? So test yourself every 6 to 8 weeks so that we can make the tweaks that we need and stay on track towards our ultimate goal. All right, next is rucking. This is a military fitness plan, so there will be some rucking, okay? Rucking is crucial. So proper gear, rucksacks versus backpacks, right? If you are not in the military, if you're new to rucking, we recommend using a specialized rucksack rather than a regular backpack. Rucksacks are designed to distribute weight more effectively and offer better support for heavy loads, essential for long rucking sessions, right? I have an entire rucking guide that goes way more in depth on this, how to pack a ruck, things like that. So if that's something you're interested in, head over to Instagram, shoot me a message, and I can absolutely hook you up with it. All right. The reason we recommend a rucksack for those training for the military is in regards to weight displacement. There are many nuances in regards to improving and the comfortability and efficiency of a ruck, and that can only be learned through trial and error and personal preference, right? Next is footwear. Select boots that provide ample ankle support, especially if you're going to be doing, all-terrain rucks. You're going to be on a trail, walking through the mountains, going on hikes, things like that. If it's more of a timed ruck, where you're going to be on flat ground, maybe a road, things like that, then you can use a little bit lighter of a shoe. I know FNG Academy has some coming out that seem pretty good. Nike, Oakley, some of the ones I've used in the past, all pretty decent. All right. The fit should be snug but comfortable, allowing for slight foot swelling during longer treks, right? Your feet are going to swell a little bit. They're going to get sweaty. They're going to have all kinds of issues. So having boots that are very broken and that you're confident about rucking in are going to be the biggest method of reducing the potential for injuries, blisters, things like that, okay? Foot care, there's a lot I can go into foot care. One of the biggest questions I get is, should your feet be very hard? Should be walking barefoot on the concrete and things like that to build up these calluses? Or should you baby them and soak them in water? I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, right? I don't like having the crazy calluses on my feet because if you get a blister under it, it's often harder to treat and takes a little bit longer to heal. But I also don't baby my feet. The way in which I approach this is I use the hell out of Foot Glide. I use quality socks. For me, I use Fox River. Darn Toughs are pretty good too. And then I have boots that I'm comfortable in. I take care of my feet, trim my toenails, don't be nasty, and things like that. Don't overthink this. Just have the boots and commit to the equipment that you are comfortable and confident rucking in. All right. Packing a rucksack, optimal weight displacement. Place the heaviest items like water or food and supplies, whatever you're carrying, closest to your back and centered between your shoulder blades. Simply put it up near your shoulder blades. You don't want it super far away from your body to where it's pulling you back and putting a lot of strain on your hip flexors, and you don't want it towards the bottom of your ruck, putting that extra load on your lower back. So simply put, have the lighter stuff, maybe a sleeping bag, things like that in the bottom, and then you can have the heavier items up near your shoulder blades. All right. So with this, rucking practices in training, I highly recommend walking most of the time, right? There's going to be times where this is going to be a high volume program. You're going to be getting a lot of running and things like that. But I want you to do the majority of the rucks walking. And the reason for that is if you can adhere to, a faster pace and increase your walking pace, then when it comes time to do a gated ruck or when you test yourself every 6 to 8 weeks, then you will be set up for success, right? You're obviously going to have to run with the ruck, and we do have a couple rucks in here where you do them for time and you do run, but it's you got to think about running a little bit differently. So when incorporating running with a ruck, focus on shorter, quicker stride to maintain balance and reduce the impact on your knees, and keep your steps light to avoid heel striking. Right, heel striking is not necessarily bad when you're running and things like that. But when you have a load on, you don't necessarily want to extend your knee all the way out and land on your heel. It's putting a lot of extra stress on your knee. Okay. Pace skating. So strategically plan your ruck to include running and walking intervals. For example, running on flat or slightly downhill sections and walking the uphills. This method helps in managing your energy efficiently over the ruck duration, right? Note right here, downhill running. If you choose to run downhill, do so with caution. Control your pace and prevent excess strain on your knees and ankles. Like I said, don't extend your knee all the way out. Keep them slightly bent. Keep them under your body so that you're not putting that strain on your knees. Okay. Consider the terrain and adjust your pace accordingly to prevent slips and falls. I don't necessarily recommend running downhill, walking uphill for every ruck that you do. But if it is a gated ruck that you're doing specifically for the military and you're trying to get the best time possible, then this method can be useful, right? All right. Uphill walking, you got it. You walk uphill. Next is going to be our warm up, right? This is going to be simple. I'm not going to go through it. This is more of a dynamic warm up to get your blood flowing a little bit. We have a little bit of stretches, but don't spend too much time in them. 15 to 20 seconds, right? And you get a little bit of stretch. You stretch the muscle, but you're not sitting it's not like you're doing yoga prior to working out, right? Then we have a little push-up complex. We have this in our app, guys. We have a complete mentorship program that you'll probably see on the backside of downloading this program. We have the workouts with all the videos and things like that. If you want to get in there, we have a lot of resources beyond this, and you can check them out here. So I'm not going to go too deep in this because you guys can read it once you get this going. I do want to note one thing with the cardio run days is heel walks, right? One of the things I said before is a lot of guys, when they jump into programs like this and they haven't done this type of volume in regards to training, they start to develop shin splints. So doing the heel walks, doing banded toe lifts, doing walking up a hill backwards, things like that, that's going to be preventative measures for developing those shin splints. So, start out by doing those on a regular basis, a couple times a week, so that you can set yourself up for success and not develop those shin splints because they really suck, right? All right. Okay, this highlights the importance of a warm-up, right? Especially in regards to lifting, especially in regards to rucking, things like that. We want to get a proper warm-up. Warm up the muscles. Don't be lazy in this aspect because like I said in the beginning, when you start introducing these nagging injuries, that just undermines our progress. I talk a lot about the yin-yang effect of the flat-toed athlete, and that is when you train like crazy, doing 2 days, doing this crazy high volume, you get injured. So now you have to take a little bit of time off. And then once you are healed up enough to get back to it, you feel like you need to catch up to everybody or catch up to where you were at. So then you start training with that intensity again. And the problem, it's this never ending cycle that you end up in. So, just try not to introduce the injuries off the bat, do these preventative measures, warm up properly, prioritize mobility. And then if you do get injured with something down the road, because they do still happen, don't feel like you need to make up and catch up to yourself where you're at. Just have that understanding for long-term growth. All right. Nutrition. Okay. So this talks about the different body types a little bit, not super important. It just talks about your potential metabolism, right? So if you're a skinny guy and you're trying to build that weight and things like that, then you need to eat a little bit more. To build muscle, you need to absolutely be in a caloric surplus. And if you're trying to lose weight, you need to be in a caloric deficit. That means eating less than you expend on a daily basis. Now, within our app, we have nutrition tracking that calculates your total daily energy expenditure, things like that. But if you use MyFitnessPal or anything like that, those do the same thing. I recommend tracking what you eat for, 3 to 5 days, getting a temperature on how much you're consuming on a daily basis, right? Unless you're a bodybuilder and you have the time to dedicate to tracking every specific meal, it becomes very cumbersome. But it is very beneficial to create a relative meal plan, and I have one that I'll share with you in just a minute, that is easy to adhere to, but track for a short amount of time to get the calibration going on how much you eat on a daily basis. And then if your goal is to gain weight, if your goal is to lose weight, I recommend weighing yourself once per week, and then using those metrics to adjust the daily caloric needs. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to go too much into this. You guys can read through it, like I said, but we do have a sample meal plan. Okay. I do want to note that this is a sample meal plan. Don't say like this is, the end all be all meal plan that you're going to follow to a T. It needs to be adjusted to your specific needs, right? So you need to figure out what your total daily energy expenditure, is in regards to caloric needs, which is your basal metabolic rate plus the amount of activities you're doing on a daily basis. Then, this is a framework that you can use to identify the things that you like to eat and that you could adhere to, and keep it clean. In regards to nutrition, I like to keep it simple and simply say that, eat a balanced diet, but the simpler the foods that you intake, the better it's going to be. So staying away from highly processed foods, staying away from sugary drinks and all that good stuff, and just eating, boring, meat-based foods, getting a lot of protein, getting the building blocks that you need. We often talk to a lot of individuals that are at the plateaus, right? And one of my first questions that I ask them is, do they know how much they're eating on a daily basis? And then specifically in regards to strength and things like that, if they're at a plateau, they're usually eating less than they need to be eating. So if your goal is to increase your performance, then it is paramount that your nutrition is on par as well. Everything we do, all the weightlifting, all of the running, all of these things are to tell our body that we need to make specific adaptations. And the way these adaptations are made is by first introducing the stress, those signals to tell our body, and then providing the necessary building blocks so our body can physically make those changes. Okay. So simply put, eat well, track your diet for a little bit, get a temperature on it, and then remove all of the bad stuff from your pantry. All right. So in regards to training, we talk a lot about discipline, right? We talk a lot about mindset and things like that. One, because I'm passionate about, building the optimal mindset for success. And two, because mindset is quite literally the one thing that can either make you successful or completely undermine your experience, right? So as you're going throughout this process, the mindset tips and things that we have in here, use it, think about it as a way to just adhere to what you said you were going to complete, right? Think about every mindset tip, every mindset hack, everything like this as a way to improve the consistency of which you take action, right? Go back to that equation that I shared with you guys. Success is nothing more than mastering the simple equation of consistency of actions taken times time equals exponential growth, right? So when we go into mindset, I don't want you guys to skip over this, and I want you to, take it seriously and treat it as a way to stay connected to the goals and the visions that you have, so that we can adhere to the consistency. Okay. All right. You guys can read through this a little bit, but I want to get down to the specific questions. Okay. With each day, we will provide a workout and subsequent prompt for you to answer. This should be done with focused effort in mind. Do not rush this process and provide, the consistency needed for it to take hold. Okay. When people are training up for selections or special operations or things like that, they often don't have a real tangible why, right? They don't have that deep intrinsic understanding of what it is they want to achieve. Throughout these writings, and you guys don't have to follow these specific prompts, but I absolutely recommend doing a little bit of reflection, 5-10 minutes a day, nothing too cumbersome, and getting deeper on your specific motivations. So the questions are structured in a way that builds up, develops the clarity and the understanding, and then goes a little bit deeper on that. Feel free to make it your own. Like I said, this is a framework, but we should be putting the necessary work in, right? One of the things I often say is our experiences are only as good as our ability to extract and apply the lessons they provide. And through this writing, through the reflection, through the self-work of identifying your specific motivations, you are better positioned to, apply the lessons, extract and apply those lessons that lie within each day. Okay. final thoughts before the program. Our aim extends beyond merely excelling in physical fitness tests during training. We strive for a sustainable approach that yields consistent performance improvements across all fields, our fitness modalities over the long term. Okay. The only thing that is missing from this program is the mobility aspect. If you want mobility stuff, there's lots of resources out there. We also have a complete yoga program within our program. If you want to jump in the mentorship aspect of it, but do not neglect the mobility stuff, right? Oftentimes we have individuals that say, shouldn't I be training twice per day and things like that? And the answer is typically no, because if you're working a full-time job, if you're trying to adhere to the level of nutrition or the quality nutrition that you should be intaking, the recovery, all of these things, then you will be working out twice a day at the expense of something which is typically mobility. And if you want to perform well in the military, mobility is a huge aspect of that. I can't tell you how many times I was walking through the woods in the middle of the night with a rucksack on my back and I stepped in a hole and my, legs just completely fell off the face of the earth, right? If you don't have the proper mobility, you set yourself up to have, acute injuries in that environment and might end up going home a little bit sooner. So take mobility very seriously. But with that, so here is the actual workouts of the program. We have the reflections at the bottom of the page. Go through, answer those, complete these workouts. Again, use this as a framework and make it your own, guys. Okay. It is up to you to objectively assess your specific needs and tailor this approach to meet your goals. Okay. I hope this program helps. Now you can go, download the program and get after it. And if you want to jump in our mentorship program, we have it open right now. Spots are limited because so far it's just me and I like to provide the highest quality service that I possibly can. So thank you for watching and I'll see you guys soon.